When it comes to judging various trees, many characteristics are considered. For the American chestnut, all characteristics were positive, as if it were a perfect tree. Indeed, the word perfect made it into the title of a book about the American chestnut. Chestnut trees grew fast, tall, and straight, maximizing the volume of wood in the trees. Its wood was perfect, easy to work with, and useful for everything, from cradles to coffins. Chestnut wood was durable, rot-resistant, and even excellent as firewood. Chestnut trees were deciduous, meaning leaves in the summer cast welcome shade below them, but no leaves during winter allowed sunshine through to the understory, an example of passive solar heating and cooling. And chestnuts produced an edible nut that was abundant and easy to collect. Chestnuts roasting or an open fire was not just a song. Chestnuts were collected and eaten by people as well as by most wildlife of the forest, from bears to squirrels, and by birds, from the passenger pigeon to wild turkey. Chestnut bark was thick, protecting trees from damage by fire, and the bark contained extracts used in leather tanning. All in all, the American chestnut was the perfect tree throughout its natural range, Appalachia. In 2018, forester Rex Mann gave a TED Talk on the American chestnut, extolling its many virtues.
He's telling about a way of life that existed in those mountains for 200 years, closely tied to this tree, the American chestnut. He's talking with great passion about what the tree meant to his people, its huge size, the wonderful wood used for everything, from cradles to coffins, and the never-failing crops of chestnuts that nurtured the mountain people, their livestock, and abundant wildlife that they depended on.
Alas, in 1904, something seriously wrong with American chestnut trees began to be noticed. Chestnuts within New York City were showing lesions on their bark and dying. By 1906, the cause of the lesions was identified as a fungus, with spores that were spread by animal vectors or by just the wind. The fungus found its way through the bark and into the cambium, that thin zone of living cells right at the intersection of wood and bark. Clogging up the cambium all the way around the circumference kills a tree. This was bad news. A pathogen was killing American chestnuts, and there was little to no hope of stopping it. Dubbed chestnut blight, this was the early throes of what would become no less than one of the worst ecological catastrophes in U.S. history, the loss of a perfect tree. Again, Rex Mann.
Then his voice changed, and in a sad tone, he told how in 1904, chestnuts began to die from a strange disease, a blight. In just 40 years, all 4 billion American chestnuts were dead. Loss of the chestnut was an American tragedy, described by ecologists as the worst environmental disaster ever to strike our country.
The origin of the chestnut blight fungus was Asia, where it had evolved harmlessly with Asiatic chestnuts. It was introduced to North America by importing nursery stock of Asiatic chestnuts, not an uncommon practice in horticulture, but a practice that can result in the inadvertent introduction of exotic pathogens with which native plants have not evolved. Protocols were in place to avoid transport of pathogens across continents, but invasive species are hard to stop 100% successfully. By 1912, the situation in America was so dire, an interstate conference on the chestnut blight was held in Pennsylvania, which at that time was at the leading edge of the spreading blight. The governor of Pennsylvania implored cooperation across states as the only way that the chestnut blight might be stopped. One speaker gave a sobering prediction that the blight could not be stopped because the fungal spores were windborne. Responses to that idea went so far as to imply that giving up would be un-American. An outcome of the conference was for each state to do what it could to stop the spread of the chestnut blight, and investment amounts across the states varied by an order of magnitude. Pessimism prevailed, regrettably. Across the span of a few decades, the blight made its way south to Georgia and Alabama, and north to Maine. By the 1950s, the final death toll was some 4 billion trees. American chestnut, the perfect tree, was functionally lost, and a lifeway of an entire culture of America was irreversibly altered. Once again, Rex Mann.
This tree wasn't just the foundation of an amazing ecosystem stretching from Maine to Georgia. It was the foundation of a culture, a way of life, now gone forever.
American chestnuts still exist here and there. Chestnut can sprout from stumps, and when sprouts are young, they appear to grow normally. But the fungus still resides in North America, so chestnut sprouts typically die before reaching maturity. A genetics program to breed resistance to the fungus into the American chestnut is ongoing, but progress on that front is achingly slow because the generational lifespan of trees is decades long. But there are, in fact, some mature American chestnut trees still living in America. In the 1800s, people crossing the country on the Oregon Trail took with them chestnuts to plant when they got to the Pacific Northwest. These chestnuts are old, up to 150 years in age. They are healthy, and they are flowering and therefore producing chestnuts. These trees survive not because they are super trees that beat the blight, but rather they didn't experience the blight because of being so far away from the natural range of American chestnut. These chestnuts are growing in city parks or cemeteries, and seeing them in person is easy and profoundly moving. Mature chestnut trees are indeed perfect. They are very attractive, even in winter with no leaves, and they are producing nuts ripe for easy picking. The story of the American chestnut has multiple lessons for modern times as humanity continues to face ecological events that have at least the potential to be catastrophic, including global warming. The loss of trees of America continues, largely because of invasive pathogens. Inspection protocols are still in place, but vigilance remains imperative. Another nugget of wisdom from Rex Mann.
There's a battle raging in our forest, with many tree species lost to insects and diseases brought in through world trade. Chestnut was the first fallen soldier. There are many more. We've lost American elm. We are losing eastern hemlock and ash trees by the millions. With each loss of a species, our forests become less resilient, less able to cope with future threats.
The point raised at the 1912 conference was that chestnut was effectively lost already, so trying to save it would just be squandering money and resources that might be better spent elsewhere. It was not incorrect that the chestnut was doomed across its natural range, but a counter notion was to keep trying to save the chestnut, if only not to give up on a hard problem. Similarly, global warming is hard to solve, but giving up on solving warming really isn't an option. One last comment from Rex Mann.
It's going to take a lot of work. We can't give up, and we got to have the public on our side.
The state-by-state approach to saving the chestnut was piecemeal at best, which therefore was bound to fail. By extension, global warming is even larger in geographical scope, and a country-by-country approach to reversing warming would be similarly piecemeal and ineffective. Humanity came together to solve the depletion of stratospheric ozone, which threatened to be catastrophic, so international cooperation is possible and can yield effective solutions to hard problems. Let's face it, most Americans today don't even know about the loss of the American chestnut and therefore don't miss it. Public outreach, like Rex Mann's TED Talk, helps raise awareness of pending catastrophes that are otherwise hard to know about. As well, visiting the Pacific Northwest to see mature, healthy, magnificent American chestnuts that by sheer luck never experienced the blight might just spark a new resolve to tackle hard ecological problems.